we really view that there are three major things. Andrew has addressed two of them in this part. So the town unfunded liabilities, and we've had dialogue with both the select board and the town manager on that previously. There's the West Elementary debt he's addressing, and the other principal driver that I think we really need to address based upon our discussion with the school department at the tri-board the other night is the increased rate of growth of the school budget. So those are three of the drivers that are worried. So now what do we have to look at in the future? Well, in FY24, it's projected that we're going to have a structural deficit in the budget, and we really can't afford to do that. So what are some options that we're going to have to deal with at this particular point? Well, we've been thinking about it. Let me pull up my notes here so I can get them, get all of these correct. Bear with me 1 second. I have them right. So in any case, there's about 7 or so different options that we can go with. We can really do nothing, and then we're going to have to do layoffs. I mean, that's really one of the options. I don't think anybody really wants to get to it at that point. Another option is we're just going to have to bite the bullet and do an override. We're going to have to look at creative options such as this, and one of the things that the Finance Committee has been working with Andrew over the last year is coming up with a coherent, integrated plan, and that was one of the things that we found very interesting about this pension obligation bond is, again, we use that phrase of having it as a tool in our toolbox to be able to address this. Another item that hasn't come up is, what do we do about the high school in a couple of years, Do we have to delay some of these things? And I think to Alex's point, another thing that we really have to consider is how is the management, and do we need to consider reform of the pension board in dealing with this? That is a real key factor, and it's been an issue throughout municipalities and state governments all across the United States, is how these get set and how they get done. It's important to note, however, the rate that they set and how the funds get managed are two totally different things. You will have a professional money management fund doing that. It's just that the pension board provides some general guidance to that. But however, just like any other organization, I'm not really sure. When I first heard this, my initial instincts were, how accountable and how good have these people been? And I'm going to be honest, this is editorial on my part. I'm not sure they've been that great at this point. And particularly with the crisis coming up, if coronavirus comes around and really starts to impact the economy, we really need to have a thing. When people use that phrase, an existential threat, over the last 2 weeks, this has really been bothering me. So I think the Finance Committee is basically saying, one of the reasons we co-sponsored this with Andrew, is that we have to provide ourselves with numerous options how to approach it. And it's really important to say, I think we're going to have to do something like this. We have to take some action, whether it's going to be an override. Since I'm not running for election, I could actually say, I think that we have to consider override or some combination thereof. This could either be used to fully fund all the debt, to do partial amounts, and there could be a little bit of this and that to solve this problem. But we really have to address this within 2 years. Alex?
So, agree with your assessment. The question that we're talking about is how to pay for. We're not talking about the reform side.
Agree, but I'm bringing that up that it's part of the entire conversation. That if all this does, it provides us with an opportunity, then the Finance Committee thinks we also need to address how things get managed down the road. Yeah. Two separate items.
That's right, two separate items, but I think to not package them together is a mistake. To give the retirement board $150 million to, well, hold on.
Okay.
On one hand, it's a masking of the situation a little bit by saying, if we give you this $150, you manage it. Because I agree with you, they have not done a good job. The retirement board has not done a good job in managing the money. One of the reasons why we're in the situation we are. That's kind of a black and white issue, and it's editorial on my part.
Yeah.
But my question is, how do we put a package together that says that we've got this, but we also want to see this? Things like eligibility, things that are 100% under the retirement board's control. These boards here can't do anything about them. So it almost seems that I understand the logic and the math, but it's a very one-sided solution, which just says we've got to throw more money at it. Is there a balancing piece? And there are things that can happen. Unfortunately, the levers don't reside in the FinCom or the Select Board, or even the town manager at this point.